Hello, hi everyone. This is Stephen Judge, clinical naturopath and nutritionist in Sydney, Australia. Today's video will be a quick introduction into the foundational steps that you should be taking if you are thinking of coming off the oral contraceptive pill for whatever reason that may be. So I'm just going to go through typically my approach to clients who come to me who want to plan to get off the oral contraceptive pill and be in the best state of health possible before doing so to reduce the withdrawal side effects. So before I even get into this, I just want to remind all women out there that are taking the oral contraceptive pill that this is a completely personal decision that bears no judgment, and I'm not making this video to judge or put pressure on anyone who is taking the pill into getting off it. You may be on the pill simply for contraception or due to a history of serious period pain and heavy periods, uncontrollable acne, or wanting to regulate your period. The purpose of this topic in this video today is to assist any women who are simply choosing to cease taking the pill, as I get asked quite regularly by many women in consultations, as well as outside of my practice, what they can do to ensure that they're in the best state of health to reduce any side effects experienced. The side effects that most women seem extremely concerned about are acne, heavy and painful periods returning, or an irregular period, or sometimes no period. The pill has treated this, so to speak, for a while, because the pill suppresses ovulation, and therefore when you stop taking the pill, the same symptoms and potentially others are going to manifest because the pill has really just temporarily masked these issues. So you need to be asking yourself when you're trying to figure out, well, what's the best thing for me to be doing before coming off the pill to reduce these side effects and symptoms returning, you really need to be asking yourself, what were my periods like before I took the pill? Not what symptoms have you been getting while taking the pill, because that's technically you're not having a period. You need to ask yourself, before I took the pill, which might be 1 or 2 years ago, it might be 10 to 15 years ago, what were your periods like before you started taking the pill? Were they regular or irregular? Were they extremely painful or heavy? Did you have acne, nausea, PMS? Would you experience breast swelling and tenderness? Because this information will determine what foundational and also what more targeted things to be looking at, because it's important to understand that the pill wasn't in fact regulating your period or truly treating the underlying cause of these symptoms at all. Since the pill suppresses ovulation so that you don't produce your own innate hormones, your own estrogen and progesterone, it really does simply just mask the problem. So when you come off the pill, these symptoms will resurface as they've kind of just been laying dormant. So whilst treatment depends overall on the individual, as you're all biochemically, energetically, physically unique, there are in fact some foundational dietary, supplemental and testing strategies that I would personally recommend across the board. This is kind of my approach I would be taking in clinic if someone was sitting in front of me as a baseline. So I just want to start with the appropriate testing required and that I recommend, and why I recommend these. So I just want to start off with testing for zinc levels, for the mineral zinc. So the reason for this is, for example, it's because acne is what I get asked about most often by women who are thinking about coming off the oral contraceptive pill but are stuck and anxious about it because of the incoming flare-up that happens when they come off the pill, which makes them want to go back on the pill and to save themselves of the stress of having these breakouts. So this breakout usually happens when you come off the pill because the synthetic hormones in the pill strongly suppress your natural skin oils. So when you come off the pill, it compensates by making a lot more oil, leading to breakouts. When you come off the pill, there's also a temporary surge in androgens or male hormones such as testosterone, as your ovaries are kick-started again and come awake, so to speak. And excess androgens, sometimes just temporarily, are what also drive oily and acne-prone skin in both men and women. So if this sounds like you, I highly suggest having zinc levels tested in a blood test relative to copper levels. I've spoken in previous videos about getting blood testing for plasma zinc, serum copper, and ceruloplasmin, because these three things then allows me or your practitioner to calculate the percentage of unbound copper levels in the bloodstream, which can be responsible for driving a zinc deficiency and other symptoms such as anxiety and estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominant symptoms are typically like very painful and heavy periods. So zinc supplementation can then be targeted with these testing results. Zinc is crucial for balancing and reducing androgen levels, excess androgen levels, for overall hormonal balance, maintaining collagen production in the skin, and reducing inflammation. Zinc's also a very powerful antioxidant. Zinc is also really heavily depleted by the oral contraceptive pill. So it's kind of a bit of a no-brainer that you'll need to be supplementing with this. A lot of people put themselves on this anyway, self-prescribing. But with this test, you can uncover your potential need for other minerals that help to reduce excess copper levels. And this can sometimes be the missing link between why you might have taken a lot of zinc in the past or are taking a lot of zinc, but it doesn't seem to be doing much. It's also something you don't want to be taking zinc in large doses for long periods of time, which is kind of popular, as it can deplete copper as well as iron levels, which we don't want in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, this plasma zinc, serum copper, and ceruloplasmin testing to help determine the percentage of unbound copper is kind of a routine when I'm prescribing for most women to see the ratio of their zinc and copper levels and where that's at, so that we know exactly what's going on, and then we can have a more targeted approach to supplementation and what's going on. Another one I'm routinely testing women for is a test for the mineral iodine. I have a test kit sent out to my female clients called the 24-hour urinary iodine loading test, which is the most accurate way to test your levels of iodine. So why test for iodine? Iodine is so deficient in so many women I see in my practice. It's not the situation of, is the testing method poor and it just says everyone's deficient. It's truly reflective of a chronic deficiency in our society today. And iodine is super important for balanced hormones. It's not only needed for optimal functioning of the thyroid gland, which governs almost the entire range of metabolic actions in the body, but iodine is super important for promoting ovulation. In fact, the ovaries contain more iodine than any other organ except for the thyroid. It also reduces pain, it reduces ovarian cysts, it boosts progesterone levels, which is your calming anti-anxiety hormone that you want to ensure you start making adequately once you come off the pill. Iodine is also really important for healthy detoxification of estrogen, as well as for making your cells less sensitive to estrogen, which is why deficiency can manifest as fibrocystic breasts, as cysts, pain, fibroids, heavy periods, and PMS. It's also a really important one to test for, because if you in fact do have a thyroid issue, it can be detrimental to take iodine on its own, especially if in fact you don't need it. Some thyroid issues are more driven by autoimmunity, and then if you take iodine in particular doses when you actually don't need it, it can lead to thyroid damage. You do need some other strategies to go along with that iodine supplementation. So the testing can just stop you from guessing and you know 100% of the levels that you have of iodine. And then within the context of your overall health, you can supplement alongside other nutrients. So my other routine testing I will do is for vitamin D, due to vitamin D's effects on hormones, on immune function, on inflammation, on mood. Iron studies to assess your iron storage and bloodstream levels. There can be a bit of iodine deficiency and dysregulation driven by copper excess too. And I also test for something called C-reactive protein, or CRP, which can give an indication of whether or not there is systemic inflammation in the body. So just to recap all that testing I just spoke about, on top of regular testing from your GP, may routinely order, my essentials for testing before coming off the pill are for plasma zinc, serum copper, and ceruloplasmin. These three to evaluate the levels of unbound copper in the blood. The 24-hour urinary iodine loading test to assess for iodine status, which can be ordered by your practitioner. Vitamin D, iron studies, and C-reactive protein. So on top of standard GP testing there, the foundational essentials I would like to see to ensure that your mineral status is optimal. If there's a significant history of mental illness in your health history, I may also look at MTHFR gene testing, the methylene tetrahydrofolate reductase gene, MTHFR. This can potentially, it can just indicate a potential inadequacy in converting certain B vitamins into their active forms, which impede on your biochemistry, detoxification capacity, and on your neurology. It just depends on the person, but it can be useful for some people to know if there is an MTHFR issue. If there is an obvious history of potential thyroid issues, I'll also potentially look at doing an extensive thyroid hormone panel, but I'd kind of need a good case history to determine that one. In regards to reproductive hormone testing, I'm honestly not so much interested in testing for estrogen and progesterone, for example, because they're not really going to tell you much, because the pill has been suppressing these hormones for so long. So it's not really useful. I want to more know about what's going on with the other tests I mentioned. And when you come off the pill, there can be a rebound effect, for example, of androgens, like male hormones such as testosterone. And because there's a bit of a surge in those naturally coming off the pill, a lot of women get testing and then get diagnosed with PCOS based on that, and that is often incorrect, an incorrect diagnosis. So I'm not so interested in hormone testing at this stage. With a thorough case history and analysis and the testing I've spoken about, you can know about what more appropriate interventions are needed. Another quick important note about testing, relevant testing before coming off the pill. If you have a history of significantly heavy or painful periods, it is important to seek out medical advice and investigation of potential endometriosis or fibroids. You may still be able to come off the pill, but it may just need to be tailored a bit differently and cautiously, and you'll want to be under some medical supervision as well. So on top of what I've discussed, if there's significantly heavy or painful periods, please ensure you've sought out proper medical advice to rule out conditions such as endometriosis or fibroids, alongside your natural health care plan and treatment. So my approach to begin with is very focused on nutritional medicine, supplementation, and diet. The reason being that nutritional status is really the foundation of health. These significant nutritional deficiencies, if they're there, they won't be corrected by herbal medicines. You know, herbs are just that, they're medicines. And they're fantastic, and I use them a lot, but you need to ensure that nutritionally and biochemically, the foundations are there. So I'm talking about, I guess, hormone regulating herbs in particular that are very popular among herbalists and the public. The main ones, for example, being chaste tree or vitex, peony or Peonia lacteriflora, There are many others, but I do not recommend personally taking any of these herbs that attempt at regulating hormones for at least the first 3 months of coming off the pill. You need to give your ovaries a chance to wake up again, so to speak, and give them a chance to regulate themselves and start responding to your hormonal system again. When I did my time working at health food stores, I saw hormonal regulating herbs regularly handed out to women or taken off the shelf who were about to come off the pill and wanted to make sure their symptoms didn't manifest. I was like, no, please don't do that. And, you know, some would listen, some wouldn't, about kind of these key nutritional foundations and what testing they could look at to come up with a really cool treatment plan. The nutritional and lifestyle foundations must be set first before going in with these herbs. So this is my approach. Other practitioners may disagree or practice differently, but to me, this approach makes logical and physiological sense. Saying that, you know, your practitioner may prescribe you herbs for other reasons, for digestive function, for stress in your adrenal glands, for example, which are okay. They're not, you know, they're not specifically targeting the ovaries and ovulation. Yeah. So if prior to going on the pill you had acne, you may or may have not been diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome or PCOS. So other signs and symptoms that may indicate that you could have had PCOS or may still have PCOS could be facial hair growth or hair growth around the nipples, elevated testosterone levels on previous testing, male pattern baldness on the scalp, polycystic ovaries, insulin resistance. If any of this is in your history, regardless of a diagnosis or not, because many women get missed of a proper diagnosis, you may need to look at other nutrients, one of them being magnesium, and also N-acetylcysteine or NAC. These basically help sensitize your cells to the hormone insulin so that you are absorbing and metabolizing sugars properly. So add these two things to the list of potential supplements if this is in your health and medical history. So magnesium and NAC for insulin sensitizing. Magnesium is also fantastic for the nervous system, for stress, for relaxation, and for the bowels if you have sensitive digestion. Magnesium's awesome. Pretty much everyone could be on it, honestly. The NAC, the NAC, is also great for gentle liver detoxification, and it can be useful for some people with anxiety. But please consult with a practitioner before using NAC, as it's very powerful. So some other foundational interventions I'd be looking at are to reduce inflammation and oxidative stress that are driving the production of chemicals that cause pain, period pain, and which may also be driving overactive oil glands that produce too much sebum and cause acne outbreaks. So my favorite anti-inflammatory strategies, without a doubt, are turmeric or curcumin, which is the plant constituent in turmeric, EPA and DHA omega-3 oil, which can be derived from fish or from algae if you are strictly plant-based. And the other one is broccoli sprout extract. Broccoli sprout extract, basically, it upregulates our body's own innate antioxidant mechanisms and is a superb anti-inflammatory herb and is especially good for detoxifying excess estrogen levels out of the body. It's a super powerful antioxidant, and when you team broccoli sprout extract together with turmeric, they are a perfect combo for coming off the pill, as well as for any pain or inflammation. So there's a product out there on the market by a brand called MediHerb, which is called P2 Detox. So P2 Detox standing for Phase 2 liver detoxification pathways of estrogen, for example, in this sense. I'm in no way affiliated with this brand or this product. I just use the product a lot with these clients. It also contains amino acids, other amino acids that are essential for liver detoxification. Yeah, and it's generally pretty safe. I would just go quite low and slow with this powder, a quarter to a half teaspoon twice a day. As it is powerful, it can start to shift hormones quite dramatically as it starts to detoxify excess estrogen. So diet is really important here too. In regards to reducing inflammation and pain and acne, I would highly suggest removing dairy, or at least cow's dairy, from your diet, as it contains a protein called A1 casein, and it's just really highly inflammatory. Don't freak out about calcium. You can easily get calcium from plant foods. You do not need to rely on dairy. But yeah, so cow's dairy I would be getting rid of for this focus, and then focusing on a plant-based diet. When I say plant-based, I do not mean strictly vegan. I basically mean, a diet based on lots of fresh fruit and veg, ditching the cow's dairy. If you have sensitive digestion, gluten would be great to get rid of too, as it just really impedes your gut function, its ability to heal, and its ability to do its job properly. So ditching the dairy, plant-based diet, plenty of fresh fruit and veg, and then focusing on foods rich in omega-3 fatty acids. So these include fish, preferably small fish, plant-based foods such as freshly ground flax seeds or flaxseed oil, freshly ground chia seeds or chia oil, hemp seeds, hemp oil, walnuts, but please refrigerate these. They're extremely susceptible to becoming rancid. If you are strictly plant-based and do have significant obvious inflammatory issues, it would be a good idea to get a good quality algae-based omega supplement. In my experience working with women, this has some gentle omega-3 supplementation alongside the dietary changes generally results in more dramatic improvements. And last but not least, digestive health and a healthy gut microbiome is absolutely crucial. If your gut health isn't great or it's a bit sluggish, disregard everything I've just said and focus here first. Well, don't completely disregard what I've said, but just ensure that one of the most important first steps is to make sure your digestion is strong and your gut microbiome and gut bacteria are healthy and balanced. So focusing on ensuring you are getting plenty of probiotic and prebiotic foods in your diet, not eating too much saturated fat or dairy and refined sugar. These three things in particular disrupt the gut flora and the gut microbiome and the balance of bacteria in the gut. And the oral contraceptive pill does negatively influence our beneficial gut flora. So it's something to focus on as part of a plan in getting ready to come off the pill as well. As I have addressed in a previous video, if you have an imbalance of the good and bad gut flora in your gut, it can produce enzymes which they prevent estrogen being eliminated from the bowels properly and then causes them to be reabsorbed. And this kind of drives a lot of excess estrogen symptoms such as heavy, painful periods and acne. So if you've had significant gut issues, you may also have intestinal permeability, more commonly known as leaky gut. So you can't address an inflammatory environment if you don't address the gut, basically. And you won't absorb supplements you take, and you won't be breaking your food down properly and absorbing the nutrients from food that you need to. So, really important to make sure your digestion is strong and functioning optimally. I have plenty of handouts and resources on probiotic, prebiotic foods, supplements info. Just drop me a comment and I can always send those out to you in a private message. So just to recap, testing, I'll go over that one more time. The foundational testing I'll get majority of my women clients to do looking to come off the pill will be plasma zinc with serum copper and ceruloplasmin, so that I can address the percentage of unbound copper levels in the blood. Second test is 24-hour urinary iodine loading test to assess your iodine levels. This is a kit that gets sent out to your home by your practitioner, and then you send it back in for analysis. Also in the blood test, vitamin D, iron studies, C-reactive protein. On top of that, seeking medical advice from a doctor or gynecologist if you have a significant history of pain and heavy bleeding. MTHFR gene testing if there is a significant mental health history as well, and an extensive thyroid hormone panel if deemed necessary by a practitioner if there might be a thyroid gland issue. A history of insulin-resistant PCOS, particularly with acne, you may need magnesium supplementation and potentially NAC supplementation. Anti-inflammatory approaches were the broccoli sprouts and turmeric powder. MediHerb P2 detox powder is a specific brand that I would use. Omega-3 fatty acid interventions, dietary and potentially supplemental. Removing dairy, possibly gluten, plant-based diet, and last but not least, restoring your gut and having strong digestion and a healthy gut microbiome. These are the key foundations, all of these things that I've gone through. This is what I would be sitting here telling my clients who are sitting in front of me, the testing that I would want to look at before embarking on any major treatment protocol, and the foundational supplemental and anti-inflammatory dietary strategies to start implementing immediately. Then as we went forward from these things, treatments could then be tweaked along the way depending on what manifests, as you are all different. And as your hormones start to regulate again, different symptoms may manifest, to what they were when you were last on the pill. But so, we can focus on that when we get there, but I'll just focus on all these initial foundational strategies to begin with. So there you have it. That is my approach. I welcome any insights and questions, comments. Please drop me a comment below. If you think you know anyone who may benefit from this info, please tag them or share this post. It's a really important topic. Many women in this situation could benefit from. I get asked a lot, particularly women who are afraid of developing acne again. I can understand the stress around this, but you can, with the right plan and the right testing, and if we can uncover what's really going on a deeper level, particularly those foundational nutritional strategies, you can have healthy hormones and balance again. And you do not have to rely on the pill to simply suppress these symptoms. Yeah, so that's it from me. Thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you to Leslie, and I will see you all soon. Bye.